Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting lesson that we are looking at, and this lesson is a lesson in African literature. This course is a course that is taken by teachers of English language. It is also a video that you can enjoy if you're just interested in reading African literature books. I must say that reading is something that I'm passionate about, and I hope that you do enjoy reading. So in this lecture, we are going to begin our lesson on one of the African books that I'm passionate to teach, a book that I really love to read. Whether I'm teaching it or not, it's a book that I just enjoy to read. So I really hope that we are going to have a wonderful journey because this is such an exciting book. I get so excited when I'm teaching this book. So what book are we talking about? We are looking at Song of Lawino, a very, very interesting book. So Song of Lawino is written by Okot Bitek. Song of Lawino is written by Okot Bitek. He was born on 7th June rather, 1931, and he died on 20th July, 1982. So Okot Bitek was a Ugandan poet who achieved a lot of international recognition, and mainly he became famous because of Song of Lawino. So what is this book all about? So Song of Lawino belongs to the category of literature, which is a poem. So we're saying that Song of Lawino is a poem. It belongs to poetry. So Song of Lawino is a long poem that deals with the tribulations of a rural African woman whose husband has taken an urban wife and wishes everything around him, including the rural wife, to be westernized. So, in simple terms, in today's world, we could say that Song of Lawino is about the cry of a wife who is complaining because the husband has a side chick. But this is just a surface. This is just a surface meaning. As we go into Song of Lawino, we actually realize that the emphasis is not about marriage. The emphasis is about Africans' application of Western values. So Song of Lawino was originally written in Akoli language, one of the Ugandan languages, and then the writer self-translated this into English. So he translated it into English. Why? Because, like you would agree with me, if it had remained in Akoli, most of us would not have written it because we have not studied Akoli and we are not Akoli. So he realized that he needed to put this into English so that he could achieve wider audience. And I think that's something that was remarkable what he did. But what we do notice as we read the book is that he left some of the words untranslated because there are certain things that you just cannot translate. So you just leave them in your own language so that the deeper meaning is not affected. So it was a book that was groundbreaking because when he published the book, a lot of debate came. A lot of people started thinking, is what we're doing okay? Should we become Western or should we remain African? And who is an independent African? Who is a true African? Is it someone who is still holding on to the ideals of colonialism, or is it someone who is totally independent? They have done away with everything that is European. And Song of Lawino brought in questions: what is true independence? What do we mean when we say we are independent? Are we actually independent, or we are still, in a way, colonialized? So Okot Pitek did not only write Song of Lawino, he wrote other books as well and a lot of poems. He lectured. So he became very popular um, with Song of Lawino. And after his writing of Song of Lawino, like many other African writers, he was not popular in his own country because it was seen as an act of rebellion when he wrote this book. So most of his late life, he was not in good books with the Ugandan government because of the stance and the works that he used to write. Then he died in Kampala in 1982. So, Song of Lawino is an epic poem. What do we mean by an epic poem? It is a long narrative poem That is what we mean by an epic poem, a long narrative poem, and we already said that it was published in 1966. So, what are the characters that we find in Song of Lawino? So, in Song of Lawino, we basically find two active characters. We basically find two active characters. We find Lawino herself, whom the book is named after, and then we find Lawino's husband, who is Oko, and then we find Oko's new wife or concubine, who is Clementine. So, Lawino, like we said at the beginning, is an uneducated African woman. She's a typical African woman. She has not been exposed to Western education because in her time, obviously, education was a preserve of the men. Very few women had access to education, and so she's one of the women who are not educated. So she's considered illiterate. She does not know how to read, she does not know how to write, she does not know how to speak English. Contrasted to her husband, who has been to school, he studied and is very well educated. So he is westernized. He is a white man in a black man's skin, if we were to put it in that way. Then the conflict is arising. The conflict is arising because Oko is now educated and he is no longer interested in the traditional wife. He's no longer interested in what the wife believes and stands for. So we have a conflict in this home because Oko is educated and he is also a Christian because he is exposed. So he does not want anything to do with the African tradition. He does not want anything to do with the wife who still holds on to the African tradition. Then we also have Clementine, who is very educated. She is the example of how an educated black woman should look like. So according to Lawino, she has renounced everything that has to do with her African tradition. Her hair is different, her face is different, and she takes a lot of time to make herself very beautiful and very attractive. So, the poem is just an appeal. Lawino is not worried about polygamy because polygamy is something that is expected in Africa. So, if you are an African like Lawino, just accept it like Lawino accepted it. So Lawino does not have a problem with Oko's polygamy. The problem is that when Oko gets a new wife, he is shunning the old wife. So in the African tradition, when you marry a second wife, you should be fair to both. You should love them both. You should treat them well. In fact, the other wife should even have a choice in who you marry. So this has not happened in Lawino's case, and this becomes a problem. So Lawino has a problem because she is being rejected, she is being shunned, she is being looked down upon. That is the problem that she has. And the second problem that she has is that the husband is who is the son of a chief who is supposed to lead by example in terms of preserving the African customs and traditions. He is the one who is in the forefront to denounce the African traditions.